Yes, welcome back, Shannon, with another episode of Hoops and Football. This will be the review from the Richmond versus Fremantle over at Optus Stadium at Perth. I think it was 4:15, so a bit unusual start. 6-7, 43 to 13-25, 103. I think we all can agree that could have gone a lot worse, the last two quarters. Now, if we review it sort of as a little part, we were pretty poor in the scoring column in the first quarter, 0-3 to 1-5. Sort of broke a bit better even in the second quarter, my mistake on that. Obviously, we did sort of drop off that last couple of minutes, sort of what we did against Gold Coast, so this has sort of been a repeat. Two games in a row now, if we think about it. Gold Coast was the same. We got in front a couple of times against Gold Coast, and now Fremantle. And it seems to be going into the half-time, there's a little lull for 2 minutes. In my opinion, that's just enough time for them to kick a couple of goals. And they've done it again. Last minute and a half, I think we were up by 6-7 points. Then we slacked off for that minute and a half to 2 minutes. And they kicked 2 goals and got themselves up by 6 going half-time. And then it dropped off there. They end up kicking, 5 goals in the third quarter. And 3 goals in the last. But by that time, the damage is already done, as you can see. And then, even though they didn't score a ridiculous amount compared to what the Gold Coast Suns did, problem was we just couldn't score either. So we ended up kicking after halftime 1-3. So it's really not good. 43 points overall is probably one of our worst, and this could be one of our worst games of the year. We don't play good against Fremantle. We didn't do it really good last year. So hopefully, going into next week's game and the next coming weeks, we learn off a bit more. But even though we lost by 60, the fact I'm more impressed that even for 2 quarters, we're sticking with these top teams. So we've gone up against Gold Coast and Fremantle, and pretty much besides 2 minutes out of the last quarters in the second, against both like Gold Coast and Fremantle, we've actually been in front. And that's really good especially for a team that's very young. And now getting a lot worse with injuries. So against Fremantle, we didn't have Nank or Lynch. So there's our number 1 ruckman. And we didn't even select a number 1 ruckman, which I will get to. That did frustrate me very much. And I don't think it was the right call to do. I will still stand by that comment no matter what. But the fact of it was a tale of 2 halves. Richmond played really good for the first 2 quarters. And then, as you expect for a team that got even younger, because taking out Nank and Lynch, and they brought in Jonty Fall and Gray pretty much to be those sort of replacements. Their work between Lynch and Nank Curtis is over 400 plus games of experience. So we dropped off in the age and games experience bracket very quickly and a lot. So to me, I think we all should be happy that we got 2 quarters of our young side and Lawler and all these other players tackling with intent and pressure and making Fremantle make mistakes. Yes, we made a lot of our own mistakes and missed handballs as well, but we were able to make a team who should be pushing for a premiership this year make that many mistakes. Also, with no pure ruckman in those first 2 quarters. So let's break it down. We'll get some stats up of some players who I thought were really good. And I think most of us are going to have to say that the first 2 quarters is what you're really going to have to pay attention to. We were good. Afterwards, we sort of really dropped off quite a fair bit. Now, Luke Traynor was very good. I know his disposal efficiency was not the best. I'll have to look it up to see exactly what he was for today's game. Like, normally do tell you, but I don't know whereabouts exactly it's gone. Normally you can tell by clicking into the stats and it tells you how they are efficiency, but he had was it 28 disposals, 490 metres gained, so it was a really good, a sort of a new level for him as well. And he played 80% time on ground. Sort of not a great sign when your most disposals is coming off a defender. So that's got to be improved, but it was definitely good to see him out there. I had questioned it for a while. Why was he not getting any games? He's one of our better players as well. As a young player from the 2024 draft, he played nearly every game last year, and I was like, well, why not have someone who's durable out there? Trento had 24 disposals and 2 goals. I had been calling for this. Even against Gold Coast, I jumped on with Michael when he did the live fan cam review, and I had said they had made the comments during the year that Taranto was going to be playing some half forward time, and we need him to kick some goals. So him having 24 and 2, I think is a great example. And I love that he's gone from seven kicks and 17 handballs. So instead of kicking it and sort of bursting it away, he's gone to get into somebody else who can kick better than I can. And then had 10 tackles. So the fact that now no one can say that Taranto doesn't know how to tackle, or he doesn't lay enough tackles, because last week it was 12, this week it's 10 tackles as well, and 3 clearances. Now, metres gained was low, and that's 148 metres. That's not good enough, but most of his disposals were handballs, so you're not going to get a large amount of metres gained. Jack Ross, 23 disposals, wasn't his best game. Sonzi was 20 as well. I thought he did alright, a couple of good moments here, and Jade Short had 20, so it wasn't too bad. Hopper had 20, probably one of his up there. Another really bad game. His handballs. He had 2 handballs in an instant in our back line. I think it was in their forward line. And both those handballs just went to no one. He had 73 metres gained, so not very good. Nick was doing really well. Sam Grill, I thought he showed the dash again, the dare. Just a few of those kicks weren't working. Eventually they'll pick up. Banksy tried pretty hard with 18. Presti had 16. Not bad at all, but I think it was hard for any midfielder to sort of have a good game. I will state this as a pretty big one. How do you expect a midfield to be winning anything if you can't win the ruck hitouts or any sort of taps to advantage because your rucks don't win? I think what kept us in the game for the first 2 quarters was that Sam Darcy's tap work was pretty atrocious. He was just hitting it to any direction, and Richmond was sort of actually reading it. If you actually listen to the commentating, I think it was David King and Brad Johnson said that just watch what they're doing. Richmond's actually trying to read the tap work off the other ruckman because they know Sam Gray wasn't going to win it. So they had to work off the other ruckman to win the game. So that was a bit annoying for me. Ben Miller, 15 disposals. He had a couple of really good moments, a couple of real bad ones. Sam Lawler was 15. He had 10 at halftime, so I'm guessing I haven't really paid attention too much after halftime because it was hard to watch. Not sure whether he went forward more, which ball was ever coming down, but I was really annoyed how he couldn't maintain that first half, take into the second half. I really think that would have helped us. He was clean. Putting Don't Argues out for days, taking on 3. He's kicking inside 50. I think he set up 2 goals, one for Taranto, one for Steely Green, off his own foot and sort of taking his time, lowering his eyes. Even with his 15 disposals, he had 490 metres gained and 6 tackles. So I think most of those tackles came in the first half, and they were really good, ferocious tackles as well. He was hitting players hard. Figueroa Smith had 14. Tom Brown had 11, and I saw a lot of people bashing Tom Brown, saying he wasn't decent. But in the first 2 quarters, when he had the ball, he actually took kicks and he's actually hitting his target. Where in the first half, it seemed like nobody could hit a target whatsoever, so that was good. Now, Rioli didn't have the best game. I don't blame him. It was hard to get the ball to him. And when he did, he had a couple of moments where he was close to taking the game and just got tackled, so I wasn't too angry. Steely Green sort of showed us why he's in the team. 3 goals. Jonty, 1 goal, 2. Needs to clean his kicking a bit more. Seth Campbell had a really odd, quiet game at 7. Bolter just no one could beat Voss. Those boys at the full were just marking them for days. McCarthy had 6. Campbell had 3. Jasper had 3 when injured. Harry Armstrong didn't get a single disposal whatsoever. And he only played 45% time on ground. So a bit confusing why he's playing if he's only giving you 45% time. Now we'll go into some stats. Now some of these are pretty glaring. And I'm going to have a big conversation about it. And I think the team and the coaching staff need to wake up to this call because it was not good. Disposals, we lost 314 to 406. Kicks were 107 to 30. Kicks were 170 to 230. So sort of you can see why they controlled the ball. Having 60 more kicks really allows you to take the ball and control the tempo at your own pace. And it makes it really hard for Richmond to get the ball and control the game. Where you can see at the first half where they were Freo was trying to move real quick and Richmond was set up really well in the defence, so they sort of couldn't keep control of the ball as longer. Handballs, 144 to 76, not a big deal. Inside 50s, this was a big one, 36 to 65. So it's a big change when You go from 60 we had against Carlton, and I think last week it was 42, and then this week it's gone down to 36, so that's dropped off really bad with the inside 50s. Disposal effectiveness below our average at 69%. Need to work on that. Inside 50 effectiveness is really low. I would love to check that stat overall. Maybe someone in the comments below could let me know what's the league average for effectiveness inside 50. We were 42 and they were 61. They were below their average, but they were still way better. Free kick count 19 to 27. No surprise there. Now, a lot of them were disgusting free kicks to Freo that weren't there, like the one against Noel Bolter, which turned into a goal for Jai Amos, where they claimed that he was grabbing the jumper, and it looked like a clean push to me. Stoppage work. Now, this is what's going to annoy me the most, and this is where I'm going to say it to this day. I do not blame our midfield. Now, yes, we played Hopper, Ross, Taranto in the midfield multiple times, and you could watch Shea Bolton just jog it out of the midfield, because yet again, too slow. Hit-outs. Now, I know it's not the biggest total stat to have that's going to make, the best thing, and you're not going to help you win. But at times, when your ruckman can win the ball, and those tap-outs can be an advantage, or sort of evens it at a bit more of a higher chance, makes it easy for your midfielders to control the ball, get the ball, read the ball off your ruckman. 57 to 9 is what the ruck hit-outs were. We're just lucky that Sam Darcy at the start of the game was not hitting him very well, and Richmond was reading it off that. Once Jackson went in there, I think he just carved us up. That is, I reckon that might be a record for the worst ratio opposite direction. 57 to 9. We almost lost the hit-outs by 50 on its own, and that to me was a concern, and it should have been a concern before they even made the selection. Fremantle go have two traditional ruckmen. One real big traditional ruckman, and then they have the hybrid of Luke Jackson that has great ground ball skills as well as tap work. So to take Gray, no offense to Gray in as a ruckman is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. That might be the worst selection we've sort of done. You could have brought in Oliver Haysborough and just given him an attempt. Just given him a chance. And then you could have had then Gray as well, but you could have had a traditional 200 plus centimetre ruckman, and yet again, we went opposite to what you're meant to do. So, no surprise we got smashed in that, and it doesn't help, because then you go to your clearance, 41 to 26. Centre clearance, 11 to 7. It's very close, but it's not enough. Stoppage, 30 to 19. So none of it really helped, and none of it was good. So it really did irritate me quite a fair bit. But yeah, it's hard to even defend it. It really is. So tackles, I'm going to leave it and let you guys have your own opinion on that. Am I right? Am I being a bit too harsh on the club by saying not having a traditional ruckman is the dumbest decision you can make, in my opinion? I was happy with our tackle pressure. We had 53 to 61. It's something. It was the second and a bit of the first quarter where our pressure rating was over 200, and they were sitting in that low 170, 160. So you could see our pressure was up there. Obviously, young side, we're going to burn out pretty quickly as well, because we can only maintain it for so long. And that is what it is. So, and then 1%ers, which isn't the best metric, but it does tend to was probably what we were doing best in the first half. 41 to 43, yeah. And then another one, glaring one here. Didn't actually know this until now. Interchanges, they took 73 out of their 75. We took 64 out of our 75. So you can sort of see why players got a little tired. Normally we take about 68 of them. And they were above their average and we were below our average. So it's not the be-all, end-all, but maybe you could see why some of these players were getting tired. Jasper Alba went out with an injury, so that brings you down one rotation there. And a bit of a talks where Harry Armstrong might have a foot injury as well. So that'll be a wait and see, and just have to see how that goes out. If that's true with Armstrong, that's another two young stars out, or young upcoming talent out as well, along with the rest of the players we have. So bit of a concern there. Look, overall, a bit disappointing, just because of the last quarter. I would have loved to see, a good quarter and a half, or at least a half a quarter in the third and fourth, where we take a bit of dominance and we can score. But kicking 6-7, I think, is a bit of a kick in the teeth. But we were travelling away, wet weather game, no proper ruckman, and our traditional full was out. So No surprise there, and it probably is not going to seem for any time soon. So we're going to have to change something up. Maybe we bring in Liam Fawcett next week. Zane Piker had a good game. He kicked 3 goals in the week, so maybe he comes in for Alga and adds a bit more pressure as well and speed. And hopefully maybe we see Hopper get a rest and go to the VFL and get some confidence back up, and maybe bring in someone young, bring Kane McAuliffe back in and maybe inject him in a bit of speed as well. So look, overall, it's a tale of two halves. We're going to have to sell it as that. You can see how Richmond want to play it. The first 2 quarters were a prime example of what Richmond could be in the next few years. And then at the same time, you saw what we're like at the third and fourth quarter, which is pretty similar to the Gold Coast game. It might be something we have to get used to, where we get blown out in the last 2 quarters, because we are playing a very young side, which isn't the worst. It sucks now, but by the end of the year and going into next year, we would have got a lot more games into some young players, which is good to see. Like Sam Grill seems to be showing a lot of fight for a young player. Wouldn't have mind seeing him in the middle. That would have been nice. I can say before I leave, I did see a few times where Seth Campbell was in there, and it was just falling a bit short of being able to get there on time to tackle it. But it was good to see that I feel like they listened to the fans and said, stop the same traditional 4 slow mids, and they actually this time put a bit more emphasis on getting some of the young players in there. I think it's time to do it now. In the next coming weeks, when you're going to have no Nank and you're going to have no Lynch, I think you're going to have to lean on a bit more of your youth to maybe inject a bit of pace and a bit of challenge into the game as well for us. So that's it for this episode, guys. If you could, hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what your thoughts were on the game, or at least maybe the 2 halves. Give me a bit of opinion on your first half and the second half, and let me know how you feel. Alright guys, until next time, go my Tigers.